Welcome to the Breakfast Show with me, Ryan Huang. From a thriving role in blockchain and venture capital to taking a bold leap into her father's struggling car tire business, today's guest on My Own Business is a testament to resilience and determination. We'll unravel the secrets behind her triumph over challenges, including shouldering the huge burden of a six-figure debt, not getting paid a salary, her ingenious utilization of social media to drive success, and her relentless pursuit of automotive expertise in, of course, a predominantly male industry. And this series of events of this young life, only 27 years, is filled with twists and turns that we'll be unpacking. And of course, it is sounding like a movie right now. Let's invite Cordillia Tan. She is the director for Pit Stop Tyres to hear her story, advice on entrepreneurship, personal growth, and shattering stereotypes. Cordelia, welcome to the show.
Hey, hi Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we've heard so much about you before the interview started. That's why we wanted to get you on. But I think a lot of our listeners want to get you to, well, introduce yourself a bit more first. So you've graduated from NUS with a Bachelor of
Yep.
Arts with honors in linguistics. And then
hmm
you started to make headway into the promising and vibrant blockchain and venture cap industry. So it's quite a promising career 2 years ago, I believe. And then you jumped into the automotive industry. What was behind that key reason to give up that corporate job, which was, I guess, pretty stable and
hmm
something that was in line with your passion, actually?
I think there were both like push and pull factors, right? So I would just start with the push side. So the push side, I've been doing it like even before I graduated. So I did a lot of internships like with the NUS
Hmm.
Overseas Colleges program. And then I was doing it, but I wasn't getting that sort of sense of fulfillment. So I saw all like the startups growing, right? But I was just, left behind in the like with the investment side. So then when I saw, like when I found out that my dad's business was doing super horribly, it was really like the push moment where I was like, okay, now that I have some expertise, I would say some limited expertise in growing startups, I was like, why don't I take this opportunity to take what I've learned and put it back into a traditional business?
Yeah,
Mm.
so you talked about working with that. This was sometime in
Mm.
2021. How bad was it? Paint a picture for us when you first started.
Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So I mean, it was horrible and exciting at the same time, right? Starting something new is always exciting. But it was horrible because when I went into it, I didn't know how bad it was. So I was going in thinking like, oh, it's just a little bit bad because of COVID. But
Mm.
when I went in and like pink letters after pink letters and bounce checks after bounce check came in, and I kept getting the $40 fee for each bounce check. Then I was like, okay, I think this is way worse than I expected. So that was really difficult. So on the one hand, we had a lot of financial difficulty, but on the other hand, it was also still very difficult for me because after all, it's my first time in the automotive space, and I wasn't sure about how the industry works, like supplier side wise, and on the side of cars. So I wasn't really sure about how the whole engine system works. So that was quite difficult
Yeah,
at the start.
I heard at one
Mm.
stage your internet was cut off as well.
Well, yeah, internet, utilities. So we got all the letters. Basically, all the letters that you could get, we got.
Yeah, in terms of cash flow, I think it
Uh-huh.
was also quite scary.
Cash flow was non-existent essentially. So whenever my like venture cap friends ask me, right, they'll be like, "Oh, how long's your runway?" And I'm like, "One day, maybe." So if I don't make the money today, tomorrow we're dead. Yeah,
Well, that's really
that
sitting
that
at
was
the edge of
fun.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
correct.
mentioned you went through
Mhm.
entrepreneurship courses and you had some experience
Mm,
there. When you actually
mm,
went into it, applying things in real life, how much did
yeah.
it match up? Did you get surprised
Mhm.
by the experience, I guess, when it comes to real world?
On the real world side, I would say it's a lot of bootstrapping, right? So whatever
Mm.
you learn, like let's say in your marketing books, entrepreneurship books, they're like, okay, so these are the things that you need to look at that customers want. Actually, it's very difficult to break it down in the real world because not everything applies. So it's more of learning from experience. You're gonna like, okay, I'm gonna try this. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna try something else, and you keep trying until something works. Yeah, it's more or something more like that.
Yeah, I imagine books will give you a bunch of stuff and you have to figure out everything else on your own, right? What
Yeah,
works,
yeah,
what
yeah,
doesn't, when to change your strategy as well. And talk about
yeah.
strategy, Cordelia,
Mhm.
you've also used your experience with social media to help
Yeah.
boost your business at the time. What was that like?
So social media came, I had to use it. There was basically no choice, right? Because I had no budget for advertising. So I did look up, like how much it would be to go onto the radio and stuff. I was like super shocked. I was like, okay, I don't have this. Yeah. So I was definitely had a very low budget. So I was okay, we need to go with like the most low cost efficient way in order to get like my pictures across, like my cars across, our services across. So I started with Facebook and Instagram. And then I was like, okay, they also still want me to pay. So let's try TikTok. So it started like being a trend a couple of years ago. And I was like, okay, this is my chance to go viral. And then when I did it, and after maybe like let's say 20 videos of barely any views, something really went viral. And I was like, oh my goodness, this actually has quite a big impact on the business growth.
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos before, and
Yeah.
this is around you in your workshop, in your
Mm.
overalls, talking about your tires,
Yeah.
and in a very interesting way, I guess it's quite refreshing. You've got a very good energy around you, and it really
Mm-hmm.
captures someone's attention. So you mentioned your video went viral. Do you figure out what it takes to go viral? What do you need to do in your video?
And not at all. So if I could figure out the TikTok algorithm, I would be a genius, I think. So not at all. So my strategy now is just spray and pray like venture cap, right? So just do as many videos as I can and then hope that one of them goes viral.
Yeah, we mentioned social media. So how much has that changed your business? Like the numbers you're bringing in, the type
Mm-hmm.
of demographics that now visit your business?
So the demographics really have changed a lot. So my dad's customer tend to be a bit more like his age, like 50 plus, 60 plus. But I realized after doing social media, it's changed to like mid 30s, a lot of mid 30s. Yeah. So
And the
it's
type of
quite
cars
interesting.
as well. And the type of
Sorry?
cars as well. The type of cars who
Type
come to
of
your workshop.
cars, I think we've always had like a range, right? So we've had everything. So from the bread and butter all the way to the supercars. Because
Mm.
my dad is a bit more specialized. So he does get a little bit more like continental supercar sorts back in the day.
Wow.
And now not so much, but back in the day, yeah. Mm.
We're in conversation with Cordillia Tan. She is the director of Pit Stop Tires. So she is helping or has jumped into her family business to help turn it around. And this was around 2 years ago. And this was without any experience in the car industry, but she's come a long way. And you had to actually overcome a lot of stereotypes, or at least how people look at you. People might be wondering, who is this girl? Does she have what it takes to run a car workshop? How do you manage to overcome that initial skepticism? How much was that?
I would say actually in Singapore we're quite lucky. So there's definitely a stereotype like, oh, girls shouldn't be in the workshop, but it's not like a negative stereotype where they're like, no, you cannot be in the workshop. It's more like, oh, okay, that's a bit uncommon. So I think in that sense we are quite lucky, and I'm quite lucky to be blessed by everyone who's come and they're like, wow, you also can do. So it's more like a positive kind of thing,
Mm.
I would say, rather than like a, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Although I would say that the negative stereotype comes more from being like a uni grad, surprisingly. So they'll be like, huh, you go to NUS, why you come and do this kind of thing? Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I guess along the way, you figured out you still needed to understand how things work.
Mhm.
What do you go about figuring out or studying in this sense?
Oh, okay. So when I went in, I was like, yeah, I know nothing about cars. Time to use my skills future. So I decided, I needed to go upskill myself. I went back to Nyan Poly to do all the short courses about cars. And wow, it was so complicated. I was like, this is so complicated. There's so much engineering in this. So like like back to my point on like the stereotype with education, right? Mechanics are so educated. They are so good at what they do. There's so much that goes into automotive engineering. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's just a mountain to learn. So I think that's the thing about the car industry, because every year there are new models coming out, there are new like ways to do things. So it's like a constant state of learning, I'd say.
Yeah, I also see you have a national EV specialist safety
Uh-huh.
certificate. So you're
Yeah.
really getting the paperwork done and really
Yeah.
upskilling yourself.
And not only that, but I also have to take note of the business landscape, right? Where is the
Hmm.
industry going and how we're going to improve our business so that we can face there as well. So that was also me like, okay, figuring out like, is it worth like investing or starting to save up towards something that we can do with the EV side.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges, of course, is when you look at car workshops, there are plenty of car workshops. You have to figure out how do you stand
Mm-hmm.
out. What's the underlying strategy for you to figure out or stand out from the rest of the guys?
I would actually say it's quite simple. Just two things: is professionalism and honesty.
Hmm.
That's really because I would say workshops do have a bit of a bad rep for like cheating people, I would say. But definitely just trying to be the most professional that's out there and really telling everybody that, honesty comes like through in my TikToks as well, where I'm telling people, okay,
Yeah.
this is the stuff that's going on and this is what you can do to save money. So you have the cost efficient method and you have the other method if you really want to like change the whole system kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a business built on
Mm,
trust, right? So I
yeah.
imagine after 2 years working in your dad's business,
Hmm.
things have started to move in terms of where things are.
Hmm.
How different is it right now? Are you still um,
Hmm.
drawing a salary? Do you have a salary or are you still in debt?
No. Yeah, we're definitely still in debt, very much so. But I would say thankful for all of the support, right? So we are slowly getting there. So we're slowly like climbing, snailing our way out. Um, but just working very, very hard, continuing to work very hard. And always we have an issue with manpower. So
Hmm.
I still myself and dad have to keep going into the workshop. Okay, time to pump tires, time to change tires. So sometimes it can get very tiring because on like in the day it will be running operations. I'll be like changing, not changing tires, but like pumping tires, balancing
Wow.
tires. Then in the night, then I'll be doing my marketing, editing my TikToks and stuff like that.
So you're the social media editor, you're the
Uh
HR
huh.
officer, you're the
Uh huh.
CFO, you're also
Sounds about
uh,
right. Sounds about
wow,
right. Yeah.
running so many
Back
things.
back to startup days.
Yeah, it is almost like a startup. Now, there are so many
Mm.
things you have to focus on. And if you look at the future, where is the business going? What are you looking out for? I understand one of the things that is on your radar
Mhm.
is the environment, how car
Mm.
workshops can play a role actually in this equation.
Mhm. I would say that at the moment it's a bit expensive for car workshops to go into the EV side. So we are still relying a bit on the government to help out with that. But in general, for the industry, I feel like with how the world's getting smaller in terms of logistics, we definitely have to set up our own supply chain simply because the cost has gone up exponentially in Singapore. So definitely looking, I mean, because you're still a small shop, right? Even though, I have all these grand plans and big ideas, we're still very small. So really looking at establishing a good supply chain,
Hmm.
having lots of good partners, and also expanding our services. So when my dad started out, it was really just only tires. But nowadays, I would say the margins have been squeezed very, very thin, below 20, below 10%. So we do have to start looking at doing workshop services and other services, maybe like spray services as well.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
diversification to other
Mm,
things to just drive the future growth for the business.
mm,
Now, I know it's been quite a challenge, but at the same time, I imagine there's been some parts of the journey that have been quite rewarding. So, what has been some
mm-hmm.
of the best parts and most rewarding aspects of the past 2 years?
Rewarding, I think was so there were 2 points, right? So there was the first point when I was like having a really tough time. I still remember I had to pay a supply $2,000 and I had to split it into like four installment payments. So I had like 1 week $500 kind of thing. And then that sense of fulfillment really came when I had like a bill, I think a couple months back. It was $2,000 and I could pay it off at one shot. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best feeling. And after that, being able to pay like rent on time. So whenever I get to pay rent, I'm just like, oh, I have enough money to pay rent. This is great. This is awesome. Yeah. So that I would say is like the most rewarding and at the same time, watching your own baby grow, right? It's like growing a company. You're like, ooh, so happy, it's growing, it's doing well. Yeah, so I would say that's the most rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, congratulations on the journey so far. We've been chatting with Cordillia Tan. She is the director for Pit Stop Tyres, who quit her job and broke barriers to revive her father's tire business. Cordilla, all the best for your future. And also, I'm looking forward to more videos on TikTok and Instagram.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Money FM 89.3.